GMGM crypto news now here. It is March 13th. And before I get into it, please just coming low on the take of the show and the tokens. So let's look at the price action of the majors. Bitcoin is lower today, but I think the general uptrend is that it's going to go up in the next few days. So obviously it's going to go up and then a little bit down, up and then down, something like that, right? And that's how it's looking at the price action currently in this down stage. Like in the next couple minutes or so, next few hours of the day, could go a little lower to 79K to retest this wick here before it goes higher again. But overall, the general uptrend here is up, and I just want to say the time frame of these videos are not the minutes charts like this right now. It's more of hourly, daily currently. So that is the current path, and I still think that Bitcoin, or at least a lot of things in general, are going to have one last rally before we touch 90K, and then most likely it's going to go lower once again like that. We'll see what happens. Honestly, it could obviously touch 76K to retest the previous week once again instead of going higher, but something like that's most likely going to be a short wick. We'll have to see the demand there, but currently Bitcoin is still in this bearish state here and is still going to chop around. So, and if we look at the price action of alts like Ethereum, so Ethereum is still looking pretty bad, and if we look at this trend line, maybe it's bottoming here, and then we're going to see a reaction from the trend line in the coming days, and then as soon as everyone thinks we're so back, it's going to go even lower to what, 1500 or something. That's the last support. We'll have to see what happens with Bitcoin or Ethereum here, but yeah, Solana as well, pretty bearish chart. Can't really say anything here. Most likely we could see a rally on these alts because it's consensus now that alts are super bad, and Solana does something like that before it goes down again. We'll have to see what happens, but I think right now I'm still short-term bullish, and this even is the same thing for stocks as well. Stocks are, I mean, they're still in a bearish trend. We'll have to see if it bottoms here or if it bottoms here. You know, calling bottoms is a pretty continuous effort here, and I'm expecting some sort of a bounce sometime soon before lower. And yeah, I don't think the Trump insiders liquidated us yet on this, so that's a little interesting. Maybe there's going to be some crazy ass news that comes in and boom. I don't know. But if we look at altcoins wise, meme coins haven't really bounced so much. Popcat here got a listing and it barely moved. I'm going to talk about that a bit more. Nothing really that much to say here, honestly. A lot of tokens, some of them are, or most of them are usually red because the price action of them are pretty bad. And I was talking about this one earlier in the last video, and I added a bit more here because I still think the narrative is pretty good. So it still has a lot of upside potential. So I'm still holding on to this one. And if it does another bounce from here, then the price target is going to be like 68 mil, which is like what, a 7x from here. But we'll have to see what happens. That's all according if the narrative goes well and Bitcoin goes higher. We'll have to see. Nothing really that much else to say about the altcoins. They're still all pretty much dead. And liquidation heat map wise, there's a lot more liquidity stacked actually. I mean, more of them is attracted up here, but there's a lot of liquidations down here, which could suggest that we have to sweep the liquidity down here before we go high again. So yeah, that's pretty much what I would say here. So let's look at the tweets. Intel, Robinhood US to list Pengu, Peanut, Popcat. Yeah, so Popcat got listed on Robinhood, which is probably the biggest retail access to assets. I for sure definitely used it before. And even though they were listed, Popcat barely moved. He barely moved, which is just horrible to see with the meme coin sentiment and how people are very risk off essentially for these altcoins. Does this mean they're over forever? Honestly, they're likely going to be over for a long ass time, at least these altcoins. And for them, I mean, if we get a super speculative rally on Bitcoin somehow because Trump releases some insane news, then we could see Popcat do easily something like that pretty quickly. Like, what is that, like a 7x pretty quickly before it does something like one of these again. I don't know if it'll go to zero because Popcat's been around for so long, but it's not going to be a price action like this where it followed this ascending wedge for the longest time. No, it's going to be something like this, a bit more compressive. And then if it's going to, obviously this is the most bullish scenario, right? And then it was something to do like that. But for right now, at least there's not really a risk on sentiment yet, so these alts aren't moving that much, and it's just kind of bad to see that the Solana meme coins, they need a new narrative like this. And in comparison to base, like base meme coins, like he got a little bit of rumors mentioned, and now he did a 3x from the bottom. Like, it wasn't even listed, and there was so much rumors about this. This just shows where meme coins are way better on base chain for now. And what's also, I'm gonna point out something about ski a bit later, but yeah, this is just, it kind of just sucks to see. The market is just very risk off right now, at least for alts. So someone swapped 222,000 USD to receive 5,000 USDT. Yeah, so this happened to me before, but not on this scale. But essentially, how this happens is that there's something called a sandwich attack, where somebody front runs your buy with a shit ton of money and then dumps it on you right after you buy. So you essentially get a shit ton of like less money from the transaction. If you don't turn on that power within the DEX aggregate you're using, then you can get a very, very bad price. And this guy got absolutely destroyed. So always check the transaction you're about to make, check the settings, and make sure they're good to go. And make sure the slippage is pretty tight if you don't want this to happen to you, because this can happen to anyone. So let's look at this. Who took Samuel Alpha's butt plug out? So I don't know who this is, but I'm just gonna say this as a market sentiment. The market's cooked. We made so much money, hit all the top signals as a bear market. If you got a single amount of money in the market, take it out now. Imagine holding crypto considering when there's so much uncertainty in the macro. Don't be silly. Sell now. It's over. So this is all a lot of local bottom signal, especially since people are consensus bearish at this point. And usually when something's consensus, it usually reverses the other way, which is also supporting my thesis for why we're most likely going to see a bit of a short-term rally before it actually goes lower again. Because I think Bitcoin is most likely going to have to touch these lows again, the high 70s at some point. I don't know if it'll go below that, because the super support, at least for BTC, is around 73, right around here. So it would probably touch something like that. Most likely going to be a pretty short wick if I were to guess. But at some point, it's going to happen. And even if you look at the weekly, well, as you guys can see, we had 2 red candles, or pretty much 6 red candles in a row. So I won't be surprised, because based off probabilities as well, to have that many red candles is just a very rare occurrence. We'll see something like this based off statistics as well. And maybe we'll see like 2 green candles or something. Maybe it's going to be 1. But everyone is super bearish right now, which is usually a sign for a small reversal. And then maybe it's going to do that. We'll have to see if it chops around a bit, revisits 82. That would be the best case scenario, right? It chops upward, and then we go higher. That would be the best case. But it could also just easily do this, and then it's going to have to go sideways even longer. We'll have to see and adapt. But honestly, currently the overall sentiment, especially even with stocks, where stocks are pretty much topping out locally, and this correlation is going to affect Bitcoin as well, then I can't really say we have much bullish catalyst right now, unless Donald Trump somehow puts some policies that essentially will stimulate liquidity for every asset to go up. But most likely we have to see a bit more pain for rate cuts to be gone, like from Powell, for that effect to actually happen on risk on assets. But at least for now, they don't have a catalyst for them to do this. It's most likely going to go up of here because sentiment's so bad, and then we're going to hit here as an absolute bottom, most likely 73, hopefully, because if it's not that bottom, then we are going to bear market. But most likely, if we see all of the assets going to the shitter, especially with the stock market, then there's going to be the government stepping in to essentially boost all the prices. So that is a pretty good case here. So let's look at this. U.S. politician Michael Collins has yet again bought crypto. He bought 15,000 of Ski Mask Dog Ski crypto. Yeah, this guy, he was shilling this Ski Mask Dog and was definitely responsible as well for helping this huge run up from Ski when it ran to 17 to like 300 million in like a few weeks. And right now, even though he's being released with this news, it didn't really move the price that much, which it just shows that Ski Mask Dog also needs a new narrative, which is going to be Coinbase listing. So you also have to think the tokens that you have, what is going to be the future narrative on it? Why will it go up into the future? And you always have to consider those things. And I think base memes overall have that potential because of Coinbase listings. And like this pump overall is all just to front run the Coinbase listing because people were expecting it so quickly. I personally was like, okay, maybe it's going to go lower like this. And so far it's following this line. And I don't know if it's going to do this immediately because it depends on the market direction. KeyCat could honestly just form the rounded bottom here, and then we'll see something like that after many more weeks. So I'm not in a rush to look at any of these just yet. Like KeyCat's price action currently is very, very similar to what happened around here, and that's very similar to a lot of base meme coins. So you have a lot of time to accumulate them, and you don't have to FOMO at the tops here. So unless they get listed the next day, then okay, that changes things. But for now, most likely Coinbase is going to take their sweet ass time, like how they're doing with Clanker, where it's been 22 days since they announced the listing and they haven't even listed yet. So let's look at this new launch debt relief bot. So Aerodrome is listing this, which is the new runner on base. And if we look at the price action of it, it's looking pretty well. Right now, it's having his first official pullback or his first big pullback. Usually, it does something like that. So we'll have to see if it survives it. But for now, most likely, this is very good news because it provides more liquidity potential for people to buy this token. So that is a pretty good catalyst. But we'll have to see what happens. Currently, this is, I think it's around its bottom here. I probably made a mistake buying it here because it's a bit of a drawdown, but I am willing to hold on to it forward and narrative. So that's pretty much all I want to say in this video. Most likely a bit more upside potentially. Yep, I'll see you guys.